How did a salvage pilot end up with the galaxy's deadliest warrior? The answer changes everything. Elias Cade was not famous, important, or powerful. He was just a salvage pilot who flew where others did not want to go. His ship, Wayfarer's Luck, was old but steady. Its engines hummed with a sound Elias trusted more than most people. Out here, far from busy trade lanes, trust mattered. The scanner chirped softly. Elias leaned forward in his chair. "That's strange," he said to himself. There was something ahead, not an asteroid. Not space dust. It was too clean, too solid. The scanner showed a long shape drifting in silence. No power signals, no beacons, no ID codes, a dead ship. Elias checked the map again. This region was empty space, no known routes, no old battles, no reason for a ship to be here. "That means good salvage," Elias said, smiling. He guided Wayfarer's Luck closer. As the wreck grew larger on the screen, his smile faded. The ship's shape was wrong. It was long and sharp, with smooth curves and deep angles that did not match any design he knew. No human build looked like that. No alien build either. "This thing is ancient," Elias whispered. The hull was dark, almost black, but it did not look damaged by time. No rust, no cracks, only long marks like deep scars ran across its surface. Whatever happened here had been powerful, controlled, and final. Elias felt a chill, though the cabin temperature stayed the same. He should have turned back. Instead, he docked. The airlock sealed with a soft click. Elias pulled on his light suit, more habit than need, and stepped inside the wreck. The air was gone, but the gravity was still working. That alone made his heart race. Gravity systems needed power, and power meant something was still alive in the ship. The lights flickered on as he walked. "Okay," Elias said, "that's new." The hallway was wide and clean. Symbols covered the walls, carved deep into the metal. They did not glow. They did not move, but Elias felt like they were watching him. He took slow steps forward, recording everything with his wrist cam. Salvage rules said record first, touch later. If this wreck was as old as he thought, the data alone could make him rich. The ship was silent. No alarms, no broken pipes, no floating tools. It was as if the crew had simply stood up one day and vanished. Elias reached a large chamber near the center of the ship. The doors slid open without a sound. Inside, the room was round with a high ceiling. Strange pillars stood along the walls, covered in the same symbols. In the center of the room stood a tall shape. At first, Elias thought it was a statue. The figure was taller than any human. It wore heavy armor that looked grown, not built. The surface was smooth, dark silver with lines that flowed like water. The figure stood perfectly still, head lowered, hands resting at its sides. Around it shimmered a faint field of light. "A containment field," Elias said softly. His breath came faster. This was not salvage anymore. This was discovery. The scanner on his wrist went wild. Energy readings spiked and dipped in patterns he could not understand. The field was old but strong. Stronger than anything humans could build today. Elias circled the figure slowly. He could not see a face, only a smooth helmet with a narrow line where eyes might be. The armor showed no damage, no dust, no sign of age. "This thing didn't drift here," Elias muttered. "It was placed." He moved closer to the control panel near the field. The symbols there were different. They formed circles, lines crossing each other, patterns that felt almost familiar. Elias did not know why, but his hand hovered over them. A warning flashed on his suit display. "Unknown system, unknown risk." "I'm just looking," Elias said. He brushed his fingers across the panel. The room changed. Light filled the chamber, bright but gentle. The field around the figure pulsed once, then faded away. The pillars along the wall lit up, one by one, sending soft waves of energy toward the center. Elias stumbled back. "Wait, wait, wait," the figure moved. It raised its head slowly. The helmet shifted, opening along hidden seams. Inside were eyes. They glowed faintly, not with anger, but with focus. Deep and calm, Elias froze. The figure took one step forward. The floor did not shake. There was no sudden motion. Every movement was smooth, careful, controlled. The figure looked at Elias. Then, to Elias' complete shock, it lowered itself to one knee. Silence filled the chamber again. Elias stared, mouth open. What?" the figure spoke. Its voice was deep, steady, and clear. It did not echo, but it seemed to fill the room anyway. "Human presence confirmed," it said. "Protocol awakened." Elias swallowed. You know what I am?" The figure bowed its head slightly. "I was designed to know." Elias' heart hammered in his chest. "Designed by who?" The figure paused. For the first time, something like uncertainty crossed its voice. By those who came before forgetting, it said. Elias took a careful step back. His mind raced. Every story he had heard about ancient weapons, lost guardians, galaxy-ending machines came rushing in at once. "You're a warrior, aren't you?" Elias asked. "Yes," the figure replied. "Among other things." Elias laughed nervously. "That's not comforting." The figure rose to its full height. It was taller than Elias by at least a meter, yet it did not feel threatening. It did not move closer, it simply waited. "You have released me," it said. "That choice has meaning." "I didn't mean to release anyone," Elias said quickly. "I was just salvaging. I can put it back, I think." The figure tilted its head. "The field cannot be restored from within." Elias closed his eyes. "Of course it can't." He opened them again. "So, what happens now?" The figure looked around the chamber, then back at Elias. "I follow you." "What?" Elias said. No, you don't. I'm just a pilot." "You are human," the figure replied. "That is sufficient." "That's really not how this works," Elias said. "You don't just decide to follow someone." "I do," the figure said calmly. "I was built to." Elias rubbed his face with his hands. This day had started with a broken coffee heater, and now he was standing in an ancient warship with a kneeling metal giant who said it was built to follow humans. "Okay," Elias said slowly. "Let's back up. What are you?" The figure straightened. "I am Valor." "That's a name." "A designation," Valor replied. "Later it became a name." Elias nodded, not sure why. "And you're alive?" "Yes." "Are you dangerous?" Valor considered the question. "Yes." Elias felt his stomach drop. "That's honest, at least." "But not to you," Valor added. "Why not?" "Because you are human," Valor said again. Elias looked at the symbols on the walls, at the ancient ship, at the being standing before him. "You keep saying that like it explains everything." "It once did," Valor replied. Elias let out a long breath. "Listen, Valor, I don't know what you think humans are, but we're not some great ancient race. We barely keep our ships running." Valor's eyes dimmed slightly, then brightened again. "Your people hide well," it said. "We don't hide," Elias said. "We just survive." "That is why you were chosen," Valor said. Before Elias could respond, alarms rang inside Wayfarer's luck. His ship's AI sent a warning through his suit. External sensors activated. Long-range detection. Unknown scans incoming. Elias' blood ran cold. Someone found us. Valor turned toward the direction of the sound, even though it came from another ship. "The galaxy listens when I wake," it said. Elias stared at it. "That's bad, that's very bad." "Yes," Valor agreed. Elias looked back toward the airlock. His ship was his only way out, his only safe place, and now he was not alone. "Okay," Elias said, forcing calm into his voice. "New rule, you stay close, you don't touch anything, and you don't scare anyone." Valor inclined its head. "I will follow your lead." Elias paused. "You're serious?" "Yes," Elias swallowed hard. "Then I really need to get paid for this." As they walked back toward the airlock together, Elias could not shake the feeling that his life had just split into two parts before the wreck. And after the galaxy noticed humanity again. Elias Cade had flown through storms of metal debris, escaped pirates with faster guns, and landed on stations that barely held together. None of that compared to the feeling of walking back into his ship with Valor behind him. The airlock closed. For a moment nothing happened. Then Wayfarer's luck spoke in its calm, mechanical voice. "Unknown entity detected, threat level undetermined." Elias raised both hands quickly. "Easy, friendly, I think." Valor stood still, head slightly lowered, as if showing respect. Its eyes scanned the ship, the walls, the controls, the small, worn interior. "This vessel is modest," Valor said. Elias snorted. "That's one word for it." He moved to the pilot's chair and dropped into it, fingers flying across the console. External sensors showed faint energy signatures far away. Ships, multiple ships. "They're already sniffing around," Elias muttered. Valor looked at the display. "They will come closer." "That's what worries me." Elias powered up the engines. The ship vibrated as it slowly pulled away from the ancient wreck. As soon as distance increased, several new signals appeared on the screen. Unknown designs, fast, armed. Elias leaned back, rubbing his neck. "You weren't kidding when you said the galaxy listens." Valor was silent for a moment. "My activation sends a signal older than most star maps," it said. "Those who still remember its meaning will respond. And those who don't, they will respond anyway," Valor replied. Elias sighed. "Of course they will." He set a jump course, aiming for a loose cluster of drifting rocks nearby. Not a real hiding place, but enough to confuse scanners for a few moments. As the ship moved, Elias glanced back. Vaylor stood near the rear wall, careful not to touch anything. It looked almost out of place in the small ship, like a giant trying not to break a child's toy. "So," Elias said, trying to keep his voice steady, "you said you were designed. By who exactly?" Vaylor's eyes dimmed slightly. "By a council of many species," it said. "Long before the current order of the galaxy." Elias frowned. "You're talking ancient history, like really ancient." "Yes. And humans were part of this council?" Elias asked. "No," Vaylor said. "Humans were different." Elias waited. "They were observers," Vaylor continued. "Teachers, they did not rule, they guided." Elias laughed softly. "You sure you're talking about humans?" Vaylor turned its head toward him. "You doubt this." "Let's just say," Elias replied, "that history books don't mention us teaching the galaxy anything." "That absence is not accidental," Vaylor said. Before Elias could ask more, the ship shuddered slightly. Warning lights flashed. "Multiple scan locks detected," the ship's AI reported. Elias' jaw tightened. "They found us faster than I hoped." He pulled the ship behind a large rock, cutting engines. For a few seconds, space was quiet again. On the display, 3 ships slowed nearby. Their shapes were sharp and aggressive, painted with symbols Elias recognized. "Enforcers," Elias whispered. "Galactic Authority." Vaylor studied the symbols. "They did not exist in my time." "They exist now," Elias said, "and they don't like surprises." A channel opened. A cold, official voice filled the cockpit. "Unidentified vessel, power down and prepare for inspection." Elias leaned back in his chair. "That's not good." Vaylor stepped forward slightly. "I can remove them." Elias turned sharply. "No, absolutely not." "They are a threat," Vaylor said calmly. "So is a full fleet response," Elias replied. "Trust me, if you start something, it won't stop." Vaylor hesitated. That alone surprised Elias. "You hesitate," Elias said. "I am adjusting," Vaylor replied. "Your reaction differs from expected behavior." "Get used to that," Elias said. "Humans don't jump straight to force." The Authority ship hailed again. "Last warning." Elias took a breath and opened the channel. "This is Salvage pilot Elias Cade. I found a wreck. I'm leaving." "No trouble intended." There was a pause. "Our sensors detected an unauthorized activation. Explain." Elias glanced at Vaylor. Vaylor remained silent. "Old tech," Elias said carefully. "Probably malfunctioning. I'm happy to move along." Another pause, then transmit cargo scan. Elias' heart pounded. A scan would see Vaylor instantly. He closed the channel. "Okay, that's bad," Vaylor spoke quietly. "They will take me." "And that's worse," Elias said. "They'll cut you apart to see how you work." "If that brings stability." "No," Elias snapped. "You don't owe them anything." Vaylor looked at him. "Why do you protect me?" Elias stared at the screen, jaw clenched. "Because I woke you up. That makes it my problem." Vaylor processed this. "Humans accept responsibility easily." "Sometimes too easily," Elias muttered. He made a decision. Elias powered engines suddenly and burst from behind the rock, flying straight toward the edge of the field. Alarms screamed as weapons locks appeared on his screen. "Pilot," Vaylor said, "this action risks destruction." "I know," Elias replied. "Hold on." The Authority ships fired warning shots that flashed past the hull. Elias twisted the ship, using the debris field as cover. Rocks shattered, spinning wildly. "Evasive maneuvers engaged," the AI said. Vaylor braced itself, one hand gripping a support beam gently, careful not to crush it. "They will not stop," Vaylor said. "They don't have to," Elias replied. "Just long enough." The jump drive charged slowly, too slowly. A beam grazed the ship, shaking it hard. Elias grunted as he was thrown against his restraints. "Damage to outer plating," the AI reported. Vaylor turned toward the rear of the ship. "Permission to assist." Elias hesitated for only a second. "Non-lethal and subtle." Vaylor nodded. It extended one hand. Energy rippled, almost invisible. One of the Authority ships suddenly lost power, drifting harmlessly. "What did you do?" Elias asked. "I reminded their systems how to sleep," Vaylor replied. Elias couldn't help it. He laughed once, sharp and breathless. "Okay, that helps." The jump drive finished charging. "Jump!" Elias shouted. Stars stretched, space folded, and Wayfarer's luck vanished into the void. Silence followed. When the ship dropped out of jump space, Elias slumped back in his chair, exhausted. His hands shook slightly. "Status?" he asked. "Engine stable, no pursuit detected," the AI replied. Elias let out a long breath. "We made it." Vaylor stood quietly. "You risked yourself for me." "I told you," Elias said. "My problem." Vaylor stepped closer, moving slowly so as not to startle him. You are not what the records predicted. Records? Elias asked. Yes, Vaylor said. Humans were documented as rare, fragile yet decisive, capable of great force but unwilling to use it without cause. Elias stared at the console. Sounds like a flattering version. It is accurate, Vaylor said. Elias turned his chair to face Vaylor. You said earlier that everyone else failed to control you. Why? Because they sought victory, not balance, Vaylor replied. They wanted an end to conflict through dominance. And humans did. No, Vaylor said. They sought an end through choice. Elias frowned. Choice? They taught that peace must be chosen again and again, Vaylor said, not enforced. Elias was quiet for a long time. Then why disappear? He asked softly. Vaylor's eyes dimmed. Because others began to follow humans or fear them. And that scared the galaxy, Elias said. Yes, Elias leaned back. So we walked away. Vaylor inclined its head. You chose to become a myth. Elias looked around his small, patched-up ship. We didn't even remember we were one. A soft alert sounded. Long-range sensors picked up distant movement, not close but spreading. They're still looking, Elias said. They will continue, Vaylor replied. My existence challenges their order. Elias stood up and walked toward the small viewport. Stars drifted peacefully, unaware of what had just begun. Well, he said, then I guess I'm not just a salvage pilot anymore. Vaylor joined him, standing quietly at his side. No, Vaylor said. You are a reminder. Elias gave a tired smile. Let's hope the galaxy's ready for that. Far away, signals spread through space. Whispers of an ancient force awakened, and of a human who chose to run instead of rule. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy began to wonder if it had misunderstood humanity all along. The ship drifted quietly between distant stars. Wayfarer's luck had powered down most systems to avoid detection. Only the most basic life support and navigation remained active. Elias Cade sat at the small table near the cockpit, staring at a cup of reheated drink he had forgotten to finish. Vaylor stood nearby, perfectly still. Silence had become normal since the escape. Not the peaceful kind, this silence carried questions, too many of them. Elias finally spoke. You said humans were teachers. Yes, Vaylor replied, and that we walked away on purpose. Yes, Elias shook his head slowly. That doesn't match anything we know. That is because your history was trimmed, Vaylor said. Carefully. Elias looked up. Trimmed by who? Vaylor's eyes dimmed as if searching deep memory. By your own kind. That landed harder than Elias expected. You're saying humans erased themselves? Elias asked. Not erased, Vaylor corrected. Hidden. Elias leaned back in his chair. Why would we do that? Vaylor stepped closer, then stopped, respecting Elias' space. Because your influence grew too strong. That sounds backwards, Elias said. We don't even control our own sectors. Now, Vaylor replied, not then. Vaylor raised one hand. Soft light formed in the air, shaping images. Elias watched as stars appeared, then planets, then ships, thousands of them, different designs, different species. The early galaxy was loud, Vaylor said. Every species fought to be heard, power decided truth. The images shifted. Human ships appeared, smaller, fewer weapons. You did not fight to dominate, Vaylor continued. You spoke, you listened, you helped others survive their own success. Elias frowned. Success. Yes, Vaylor said. Many species destroyed themselves with unchecked growth. Humans taught restraint. The image showed worlds slowing expansion, turning inward, rebuilding instead of conquering. They listened to you, Vaylor said. And that frightened those who relied on fear. The light changed again, councils arguing, alliances forming against humans, fear spreading faster than truth. So we became a threat without meaning to, Elias said quietly. Yes, Vaylor replied. You were not the strongest. You were the example, Elias exhaled slowly. And examples are dangerous. Vaylor inclined its head. You understand. The image faded. So, Elias said, rubbing his temples, instead of fighting back, we vanished. You chose silence, Vaylor said. You dismantled your reach. You seeded myths, you stepped away. Elias looked at the floor, and left the galaxy to figure itself out again. Yes. A soft alert sounded from the cockpit. Elias stood quickly and moved to the controls. Multiple signals blinked on the screen. Too many. They're spreading, Elias said. Search patterns, not just the authority anymore. Vaylor studied the display. Independent powers, collectives, old rivals. They all want you, Elias said. They all fear what I represent, Vaylor corrected. And what do I represent? Elias asked. Vaylor turned to him. A question. Before Elias could respond, a new signal appeared, not a scan, a message request. Elias hesitated. Could be a trap. Yes, Vaylor agreed, or a test. Elias gave him a sharp look. You keep using that word. Vaylor was silent. Elias accepted the transmission. A face appeared on the screen, not human. Smooth features, pale skin, eyes like dark glass, calm, calculating. This is Speaker Renner of the Coalition of Free Systems, the figure said. We request dialogue. Elias crossed his arms. You found me fast. You are not hiding well, Renner replied. Or perhaps you do not wish to. Elias glanced at Vaylor. What do you want? To understand, Renner said. The signal that woke recently, it matches forbidden archives. Vaylor stepped into view. Renner's eyes widened slightly. So the stories were incomplete. Elias leaned forward. If you're here to take him, save the speech. Renner raised a hand. We are not the authority. We do not seek control. That's what everyone says, Elias replied. Renner's gaze shifted back to Vaylor. Is it true? She asked. Does it still obey humans? Vaylor answered calmly. I do not obey, I respond. Renner looked unsettled. That is worse. Elias smirked. Welcome to my week. Renner ignored him. Human pilot, you are placing yourself at the center of something vast. I didn't ask to, Elias said. No, Renner agreed, but you were chosen. Elias felt his jaw tight. I hate that word. So did the last humans who carried it, Renner said softly. Vaylor turned sharply. You knew them? Renner nodded. Only through records, they negotiated an end without victory. Elias stared. You were there. My people were, Renner replied. We were young, we learned restraint because of them. Silence followed. Then Elias said, if you learned, why hunt us now? Renner's expression hardened. Because others did not. The screen flickered. New signals surged closer. They are coming, Renner said, all of them. Elias swore under his breath. Can we run again? Yes, Vaylor said. But that delays the outcome. Elias looked at him. What outcome? Vaylor met his gaze. The galaxy must decide what humans are. Renner leaned forward. Or humans must decide if they wish to be seen again. Elias laughed bitterly. I'm just one guy in a broken ship. And yet, Renner said, you hold the oldest key. The transmission ended suddenly, not cut closed. Elias stared at the empty screen. Well, that was unsettling. Vaylor spoke softly. They are positioning. The scanner confirmed it. Ships emerged from jump points, forming a wide ring. Not attacking, waiting, Elias' hands clenched. They're cornering us. Yes, Vaylor said. They want to see what you will do. Elias turned. Me. You, Vaylor repeated. Not me. Elias paced the cockpit. So what, I make a speech? No, Vaylor said. You choose. Choose what? Vaylor looked at the ships outside. Whether I am a weapon or a witness. Elias stopped pacing. You could fight them, Elias said slowly. You'd win, wouldn't you? Yes, Vaylor replied. At great cost. And that would prove their fears right, Elias said. Yes, Elias swallowed. Or I hand you over. Vaylor did not answer. That would prove humans don't protect their own, Elias said quietly. Yes. Elias closed his eyes. The pressure in his chest grew heavy. So what's the third option? He asked. Vaylor stepped closer. You refuse both. Elias opened his eyes. How? You trust them, Vaylor said. Enough to risk failure. Elias laughed once. That sounds like a terrible plan. It always was, Vaylor replied. Outside, the ships held position. Weapons stayed cold. Sensors watched everything. Elias opened a broadcast channel, all frequencies. This is Elias Cade, he said, voice steady but tired. I'm human. The reaction was immediate. Whispers of signal spikes, adjusted formations. I know some of you think humans disappeared, Elias continued. Truth is, we stepped back. He paused, choosing words carefully. We didn't leave because we were weak. We left because everyone kept asking us to decide things for them. Vaylor stood silently behind him. I won't do that, Elias said. I won't command this being, I won't unleash it, and I won't surrender it. The silence outside grew thick. This isn't a threat, Elias added. It's an invitation. A new signal came through, then another, short messages, questions, doubts. They are listening, Vaylor said quietly. Elias exhaled. Good. One ship moved forward slightly, then stopped. Another followed, no weapons fired. Renna's voice returned, this time on open channel. You risk everything on trust. Elias nodded, even though she couldn't see him. That's kind of our thing. Vaylor turned its gaze to the stars. The test continues. Elias looked at him. Test, Vaylor's voice softened. Not of strength, of memory. Elias leaned back in his chair, exhaustion settling deep into his bones. Then let's remind them, he said, why we walked away in the first place. Far across the silent stars, fleets waited not for orders, but for an answer they had not expected. And buried truths, long ignored, began to rise again. The stars outside Wayfarer's luck looked calm, but Elias Cade knew better. Dozens of ships surrounded him now. Some were large, some small. Some belonged to old powers, others to groups that had barely agreed to work together. They formed a wide circle, keeping distance, watching, waiting. Elias stood in the cockpit, hands resting on the console. His heart beat steady but heavy. This was no longer about running or hiding. This was about being seen. Valor stood behind him, silent and still like a shadow made of metal and memory. They're not attacking, Elias said quietly. No, Valor replied. They are judging. Elias let out a slow breath. Figures. A signal light blinked. Then another, then many more. Requests for communication, not demands. Requests. Elias shook his head with a small, tired smile. Now they want to talk. Valor tilted its head slightly. Words were always your first tool. Elias looked back at it. Funny how that scares people more than weapons. Yes, Valor said, because words change minds. Elias accepted the open channel. This time multiple faces appeared on the screen. Different species, different expressions. Fear, curiosity, anger, hope. Speaker Rena was there again. So were others Elias had never seen before. This gathering is highly irregular, one voice said. So is surrounding a salvage pilot, Elias replied calmly. Murmurs spread across the channel. Rena raised a hand. Human Elias Cade, you have refused all expected actions. Story of my life, Elias said. You hold a being capable of ending wars, another voice said, yet you refuse to use it. Yes, Elias replied, because ending wars isn't the same as ending violence. Silence followed. Valor stepped forward into view. The reaction was immediate. Several beings leaned back. Others stiffened, some stared in open disbelief. I am Valor, it said. I was created to stop endless conflict. One voice snapped, by force? No, Valor replied, by example. Elias glanced at Valor, surprised. Valor continued. I was activated many times, Valor said. Each time I was asked to conquer, each time that path failed. And yet you remain, Rena said, unbroken, because humans did not ask me to rule, Valor replied. They asked me to watch. Elias spoke again. That's the part everyone forgets. We didn't build a weapon to win, we built something to remind. Remind of what? A voice demanded. Elias looked at the faces on the screen. That power without choice is just fear with better tools. The circle of ships remained still. No one disconnected, no one fired. One of the older-looking figures leaned forward. Human, do you understand what you risk? Every day, Elias said, just by being alive. Another voice spoke, quieter. If you release control, chaos may follow. Elias shook his head. I don't control Valor. Valor confirmed that is correct. Then who does? The voice asked. Elias answered softly, no one. That answer rippled through the channel, confusion, discomfort. You expect us to trust that? Someone said. Elias nodded. Yes. Rena studied him closely. Your people vanished to avoid this moment. Elias met her gaze. We vanished because everyone wanted us to decide for them. And now? Rena asked. Elias spread his hands. Now I'm saying no again. Valor turned its head toward Elias. This choice aligns with original intent. Elias blinked. Wait, original intent? Yes, Valor said. My final directive was to follow humans only while they refused to rule. The channel erupted in voices. You built a safeguard that stops working if humans seek power? Rena asked. Yes, Valor replied. Because then they would be no different from the rest. Elias felt a strange tightness in his chest. We didn't even remember that. Memory fades, Valor said. Values endure. Outside, one ship moved forward slightly, not aggressively, curious. A message came through private channel. Human pilot, the voice said. This is Commander Hale of the Authority, Elias sighed. Of course it is. He accepted the channel. Hale's face was sharp, controlled. You are in violation of multiple directives. I figured, Elias replied. You harbor an unauthorized entity, Hale continued. Hand it over. No, Elias said simply. You do not have the right to decide this alone, Hale snapped. Elias leaned closer to the screen. Neither do you. Hale's eyes flicked to Valor. That thing is a threat, Valor spoke calmly. Only to those who seek domination. Hale's jaw tightened. You expect us to believe a machine's moral claims? Elias answered before Vaylor could. No, I expect you to believe mine, Hale scoffed. You are one pilot. Yes, Elias said, and I'm choosing not to be your weapon. The channel cut. The main channel filled again. Tension rose, thick as fog. Rena spoke. Authority forces are repositioning. Elias glanced at the sensors. Several ships shifted, weapons warming but not firing. They're pushing, Elias said. Vaylor nodded. They want to force resolution. Elias turned fully to Vaylor. If they attack, can you defend without destroying? Yes, Vaylor replied, but it will still teach fear. Elias clenched his fists. I don't want that lesson taught. Vaylor looked at him. Then another must be shown. Elias closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, his decision was clear. He opened a broadcast channel again, all ships, all frequencies. This is Elias Cade, he said. I am powering down my ship. Gasps and signal spikes filled the void. Elias continued, I am not surrendering Vaylor. I am not attacking anyone. I am placing myself at risk. Vaylor turned sharply. This is not required. Yes, it is, Elias said quietly. If this is about trust, someone has to go first. He began shutting systems down, engines off, weapons offline, shields lowered, alarms sounded. The AI warned him of exposure. Rena's voice cut through. Humans, stop, you will be destroyed. Maybe, Elias said, but not by me. The authority ships hesitated. Targeting systems locked, then paused. One by one, other ships powered down weapons. Not all, but many. Vaylor stepped forward, eyes glowing softly. This is why humans were trusted. Elias swallowed hard. Let's hope you're right. A long moment passed, no shots fired. No orders given, then something unexpected happened. One authority ship powered down its weapons, then another. Commander Hale's face reappeared on the private channel. His expression was conflicted. You are forcing us into a corner, Hale said. Elias nodded. I know. If we fire now, Hale continued, we prove your point. Yes, Elias said, and if you don't, you start fixing something. Silence stretched. Finally, Hale exhaled. Stand by. The channel closed. Across the stars, weapons cooled. Power levels dropped. The ring loosened. Elias slumped slightly, relief washing through him. We're not done, Vaylor said softly. I know, Elias replied, but we're alive. Rena's voice returned, steady but changed. Human Elias Cade, the Coalition requests continued dialogue. Elias smiled weakly. That sounds better than surrender. Vaylor turned to face the gathered ships. I will not fight for you, it said. I will not rule for you. I will only stand with those who choose restraint. A quiet understanding spread. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was not looking at a weapon. It was looking at a choice, and at a single human who reminded them that strength did not always come from force, but from the courage to lower one's guard first. The judgment had begun. And humanity, long silent, was being seen again, not as conquerors, but as something far more dangerous to old fears. A mirror, the stars did not explode into fire. No alarms screamed. No weapons burned the dark. Instead, space became quiet. For Elias Cade, that silence felt heavier than any battle. He sat in the pilot's chair of Wayfarer's luck, systems still powered low, hands resting loosely on his knees. Around his ship, the great circle of vessels slowly changed shape. Some pulled back. Others moved closer, but not in threat. In attention, Vaylor stood near the viewport watching the galaxy shift. They are choosing, Vaylor said. Elias gave a tired smile. About time. Hours passed. Messages came and went, not demands, not threats, questions, careful ones. Old powers asked about ancient treaties. Young groups asked about humanity. Independent traders asked if the routes would be safe. Elias answered what he could. When he did not know, he said so. I'm not a leader, he told them again and again. I'm just a pilot who found something he wasn't supposed to. Vaylor corrected him gently. You found something you were meant to. Eventually, the circle of ships thinned. Not because interest faded, but because trust began to grow. Fleets withdrew to respectful distances. Only a small group remained nearby. The coalition ships, a few neutral observers, and Wayfarer's luck, still small, still ordinary. Rena appeared once more on the main screen. Her expression was calmer now, thoughtful. The Emergency Council has reached a temporary decision, she said. Elias raised an eyebrow. That sounds serious. It is, Rena replied. Vaylor will not be seized, nor will it be used. Elias let out a breath he felt he had been holding for days. However, Rena continued, the galaxy will not ignore this moment. Elias nodded. I wouldn't expect it to. Rena's gaze shifted to Vaylor. You are free. Vaylor inclined its head. I always was. Rena's lips curved slightly. Then perhaps we all are. The transmission ended. Elias leaned back, exhaustion washing over him. So what now? Vaylor turned from the stars. Now I am no longer needed as I was. Elias frowned. What do you mean? My purpose was to stand until humans returned, Vaylor said. Not in force, in choice. Elias' chest tightened. You're saying this was it? Yes, Vaylor replied. You answered the question. Elias stood up slowly. Which question? Vaylor's eyes softened. Whether humanity still remembers who it chose to be. Elias looked around his ship, the patched walls, the scratched panels, the simple controls. Nothing about it looked legendary, nothing about him felt historic. We barely remember yesterday, Elias said quietly. And yet, Vaylor said, you chose restraint when power stood behind you. That memory remains. A small ship detached from the coalition group and approached carefully, not a warship, a courier. A message arrived moments later. Invitation, provisional human envoy status. Elias stared at the text. You've got to be kidding me. Vaylor said nothing. I don't even represent Earth, Elias muttered. I represent overdue maintenance and bad coffee. You represent a choice made visible, Vaylor said. Elias ran a hand through his hair. I didn't plan this. Neither did the first humans who spoke for others, Vaylor replied. Elias sighed. Figures. Days passed as Wayfarer's luck traveled under escort, not as a prisoner, but as a guest. News spread faster than any ship. Stories changed with each telling. Some called Elias reckless, others called him brave. Many argued over what humanity truly was. Elias ignored most of it. He spent his time talking, listening, answering the same questions in different ways. Why did humans leave? Why return now? Would humans lead again? His answer never changed. We didn't leave to be important, Elias said. We left so no one depended on us. And now? Someone asked. Now, Elias replied, I'm just making sure no one forgets how to choose for themselves. Vaylor remained quiet during these talks. Always present, never looming. It spoke only when asked. Over time, something shifted. The fear that followed Vaylor faded, not gone but understood. One day, as Wayfarer's luck drifted near a neutral station, Elias found Vaylor standing alone, staring at a distant star. You're quieter lately, Elias said. My task nears completion, Vaylor replied. Elias frowned. Completion doesn't mean leaving, does it? Vaylor turned. I will remain, but not as before. Elias crossed his arms. Explain. I was built to be a reminder, Vaylor said. Now others remember. And me? Elias asked. Vaylor studied him carefully. You will continue. Elias laughed softly. That's vague. Humans always disliked fixed paths, Vaylor replied. On the station, Elias met representatives from dozens of worlds. Some were cautious. Some hopeful, some simply curious. They did not kneel, they did not demand, they asked. And Elias answered as honestly as he could. He refused titles, he refused command, he accepted only one role, listener. Weeks later, as the galaxy slowly returned to motion, Elias prepared to leave the station. His ship was refueled, repairs completed, supplies restocked. Before departure, Rena met him one last time. You could stay, she said. Help shape what comes next. Elias shook his head. If humans stay in the center, we become the answer again. I don't want that. Rena studied him. Then what will you do? Elias smiled. Go back to salvaging, she blinked. After all this? Especially after all this, Elias said. Someone has to remember what normal looks like. As Wayfarer's luck pulled away, Vaylor stood at the rear viewport. You will not be forgotten, Vaylor said. Elias snorted. I hope I am. Vaylor turned slightly. That too is very human. They jumped to open space, no escorts. No watchers, just stars. Elias set a course toward an unmarked region, another quiet job, another wreck maybe. You know, Elias said, people are going to tell this story wrong. Yes, Vaylor replied. They'll say humans came back with the galaxy's deadliest warrior. Vaylor was silent for a moment. Then it said, and they will be wrong. Elias smiled. Good. The truth was simpler. The galaxy's deadliest warrior had never been Vaylor. It had been the idea that power must always be used. And humanity had returned, not to fight, not to rule, but to remind the stars that choosing not to was sometimes the bravest act of all. As Wayfarer's luck vanished into the dark, the galaxy continued on, changed not by force but by memory. And somewhere between the stars, a simple salvage pilot carried the quiet weight of a truth that changed everything.